Hello my friends and welcome once again to this Red Gaming Tech video of myself and Marta. I hope you guys have been well. I know it's been a while, but I've had some well-earned time off myself. But I'm here, as always, with the latest news from the tech world from the last 24 or so hours as of the 9th of July. We're going to begin today's proceedings with some news from Intel and Thunderbolt 4. So, you may recall back at CES earlier this year, Intel did tease Thunderbolt 4, and while the information they shared was a little thin on the ground, we did later learn that Thunderbolt 4 is not faster than Thunderbolt 3. It still has the same speed, 40 GB a second, and also maintains the maximum speed rating, and it doesn't enable any new features. What it does do, however, is it requires vendors to enable all of the optional features built into Thunderbolt 3. So Thunderbolt 4 is essentially just, again, Thunderbolt 3 with the extra bits that were optional now being mandatory to be enabled. So these are things like being able to support up to 2 4K displays or one 8K display, or the ability to hit 40 GBs data throughput requirements. Now, Intel have actually provided a chart to basically explain the difference between Thunderbolt 4 and the previous generation, Thunderbolt 3, and obviously USB 4, USB 3, and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to quickly update you guys that the spec has now been officially announced, and once again we will see it debuting with Tiger Lake. So, we're going to move over now very briefly to something from AMD. And this is thanks to Rogame over on Twitter. Of course, you can find the link to his tweet in the description below this video. So this time around, it's a bit of an update to some Navi related news, and we have the board numbers for various Navi parts. As you can see, we've got Navi 21XT8, which is an Apple focused part, D4171, and then Navi 21XT, D41711, then XTX, D41201, Navi 21XL, D4401. Now, just as a bit of a reminder, because I know it can get a little bit confusing, but Navi 21 is Big Navi. Anyway, we do have something a bit more meaty from Rogame today, an unknown Nvidia GPU of all things. So this time around, Rogame once again has found a Geekbench result for an unknown Nvidia GPU that he speculates could be the 2080 Ti Super. Now, before I get into what I think of this, let's discuss what the benchmark actually says. So we can see 72 SMs, 4608 CUDA cores, 1.64 GHz core clock, 12 GB of VRAM, 14 Gbps, and a 384-bit bus, and 6 megs of L2 cache. Now, he has helpfully provided a comparison against the vanilla 2080 Ti, and you can see that it is a ever so slight improvement on the amount of SMs and CUDA cores, as well as an increase in cache, slight increase in VRAM, and of course the size of the bus as well. Now, to be honest, I think that it's way too late for a 2080 Ti Super or some sort of Turing refresh, because I'm pretty much expecting Nvidia to unveil the gaming cards in August. Now, obviously, there's no confirmation of that. It's just when they showed the RTX cards on the year that they showed them, so it would kind of make sense. They normally would show it at Gamescom. Probably going to be an online thing this year, same with GTC, but I would pretty much expect it to be August-ish. I'm not going to say a date because I'm not comfortable saying that. I'm not saying it's going to be Gamescom weekend, but that's when we did see the RTX line be revealed, with the price, release date, etc, etc. So I'll be surprised if this is actually a thing that's actually going to release. I think this is Nvidia messing around, seeing what they can get just because they can. This may even be an old result that's been uploaded. You can see on the Geekbench result that it was uploaded on June 29th, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it was taken, benchmarked on that day. I'm going to say I'm skeptical that this is a 2080 Ti Super. I just think it's a bit late for a new Turing card to come out, but I'm just speculating. I could be extremely wrong. So with all that said about Nvidia, let's move over to Nintendo and the Switch. Now, it's no secret that Nintendo have been pretty much printing money with the Nintendo Switch, and, well, rightfully so. It is a very good console. You can clearly see from everything about it, including the marketing, that they have learned from their many blunders with the Wii U. And during a meeting of the shareholders, the 80th annual general meeting to be exact, the president, Shuntaro Furukawa, confirmed that they actually want to extend the life cycle of the system. And he said, quote, "Our current generation system, Nintendo Switch, has entered its 4th year since launch, but its momentum is increasing. We believe there are 2 factors behind this. First is the existence of 2 hardware configurations with different characteristics, a Nintendo Switch and a Nintendo Switch Lite. The second factor is that Nintendo's development resources are concentrated on developing for a single platform, Nintendo Switch. We want to extend the life cycle of Nintendo Switch while maximizing such advantages." Does this mean we're going to see a Switch Pro like has been long rumoured? I mean, possibly that would be one way to extend the life of the console. They're definitely going to have a fight on their hands to stay relevant when the next generation consoles release. But Nintendo have kind of always existed in their own separate little bubble. They do something very different to both Sony and Microsoft with the sort of games they release, the sort of consoles that they create. They've always been a bit weird, which is good. I do like Nintendo for that, even if their weirdness is not always a good thing, like with their weird way of doing online and stuff like that. But it'll be interesting to see a Switch Pro. If it isn't the Switch Pro, I do wonder what they're actually going to do to extend the life of the hardware. I'm sure they're obviously going to be pushing the mini games that we have yet to see come to fruition, like Bayonetta 3, for instance, the new Metroid, and so on and so on. But I think that it's definitely going to be an interesting one. And there was also some very cool comments from Ko Shiota, the senior executive officer, who basically touched on how they have learned from the Switch and how they're actually going to use what they have learned in their future game consoles. And they said, quote, "In addition to the performance aspect, higher technical specifications, Nintendo's dedicated video game platforms are developed with a focus on providing a comfortable environment for consumers to play fun software. From the perspective of playing with the image displayed on a TV, we believe because consumers can play Nintendo Switch on a TV or the game console screen itself, it has greatly increased the opportunities for gameplay in various scenes in their lives compared to previous consoles. Through Nintendo Switch, we've made many discoveries about where a dedicated video game platform can fit into a consumer's daily life. We see scenes on social media of children and their families sitting around a game console to play, which gives us a renewed sense of value of our dedicated video game platform. We will utilize these experiences in carefully considering the form our future game consoles will take." I mean, he's not wrong. The fact that you can still carry on playing your game even though someone else wants to use the big TV is obviously really, really nice. It would be interesting to see a more powerful hybrid console in the future, because there definitely is the tech out there to make a more powerful console hybrid-wise. Obviously, the challenge is still there to make it affordable, not overheat, and obviously address some of the issues that the Switch also had while providing a uptick in performance and technical specifications. I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on Nintendo. They always, as I said, they always do their own thing, and I do always respect them for that. So it's going to be one to watch for sure. But we have some more console news to finish up. We've got a couple of Sony things up next. First of all is a patent for game emulation. So Sony has filed a patent in Japan that allows a console to enable game emulation across PS1, PS2 and PS3 titles. Now, this was discovered by a Renka schedule over on Twitter, and it was filed this year, and it shows what clearly looks like the PS1, PS2 and PS3 consoles being emulated onto a screen via cloud gaming. So this probably means that we're going to be seeing these titles on PlayStation now. Now, the tweet is in Japanese, but if we translate it, it reads as follows, quote, "A large number of game titles across PS1, PS2 and PS3 and various generations of game consoles can be stored and used via the cloud gaming library. These games can be run on a virtual machine that mimics the operating system associated with each game console." Now, you have seen throughout the various pattern images that this does look pretty damn convincing that they are looking at doing this. Now, obviously, I would prefer just real backwards compatibility with PS1, PS2 and PS3 games on the PS5. Obviously, we already know we're going to be getting some PS4 backwards compatibility, but I did hope that we eventually would see it being added for the others. But I'm not really shocked to see that they're doing it through PlayStation now, to be honest. I mean, with PS1 games, I guess you can argue, they're going to put in a lot of work to make them emulated. and put them on the service and that it's paid for. It kind of makes sense from a company perspective. It just would have been nice to have real backwards compatibility is all. So obviously if this is true and if it ends up being a thing for the PS5, this would make PS Now actually much more worthwhile, I think. Because I did try it back in the day and I wasn't overly impressed. But I think if they have PS1, PS2 games on there, that could be very, very interesting. And I'm sure, like myself, a lot of people never had a PS3 because it was just too pricey back in the day. Like £500 or something when it first came out. So there's many PS3 games that I never played that were exclusive. Like Demon's Souls. But I'm going to play the remake of that because, well, why wouldn't I? But my point still stands. Speaking of Sony though, we have some comments regarding the controller from the Bugsnax developer Young Horses. Now, in particular, this was Phil Tibotsky and Kevin Zoon, hopefully I pronounced that correctly on both cases, and they spoke to IGN. Of course, you can find IGN's article linked below. Anyway, so they spoke about the Dualsense controller and how Bugsnax will actually take advantage of the features, and in particular, Tibotsky praised the haptic feedback, saying, quote, previously on pretty much any console that has vibration or rumble, it's a nice feature that sometimes can make things more immersive, but I haven't felt anything quite as intricate and sensitive as the Dualsense's haptic feedback. And then, out of quote, obviously now, he did go into specifics, thankfully, talking about how they actually use it in their game. And he said, quote, in our game, being in first person, running on different terrain, jumping in and out of water, or running into Bugsnax, you can feel the difference between running on grass versus running in water versus running on sand or snow. There's weather in our game, and if there's a thunderstorm and things of that nature, you can feel where the sound is coming from through the vibration. Also as well, out of quote, apparently they are going to be using the adaptive triggers, and this is going to play a big role in capturing Bugsnax themselves. And he continued, quote, we even use the light on the controller to display how in danger you are of a Bugsnax, escaping from a trap. We're also using the adaptive triggers. Different traps have different functionalities, and some of these are best exhibited through tension in those triggers or rumble in them to make you feel like you are really using them. So obviously this is just one game, but that just sounds really interesting. I do kind of agree with his initial comment that vibration or rumble or whatever, it's a nice feature and it can really help gunfire and stuff like that especially, or even just combat in general, to be fair, just feel more meaty, like, you know, you're charging up your arrow shot or whatever, and you let it go and it hits them in the head and you get that little sort of satisfying rumble to make it really feel the impact. It does definitely help. So I'm definitely intrigued to see this for myself. Obviously it's going to have to wait and see until I have the controller in my hands and I'm playing a game on it, but I'm definitely interested to see if it's as immersive and as different to Rumble as they say. Of course, time will have to tell on that one. So guys, before we finish up the video, I just want to quickly discuss something that is a bit more serious, but I do feel like it needs to be said. As you may have heard, that the MSI President and CEO Charles Chang has actually passed away at the age of 56. And I just wanted to mention this to express my condolences to his family, his friends, and of course everyone over at MSI. We've been working with MSI for years. They were one of the first companies to send us hardware back in the day when our channel was much, much smaller. So I just felt like I wanted to express my condolences to everyone that will obviously sorely miss him. 56 is no age to go. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, it means a huge deal. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.